Welcome to episode 21 of The Player and the Journalist with Karson Harris and David Vick. In this episode, we are joined by a 2022 All-American defender. She accounted for 89 draw controls, 51 ground balls, and 31 caused turnovers a season ago for Washington and Lee University. Currently, her team is ranked second in the IWLCA poll. Her name is Eugénie Rovegno. How are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
So before we bring Karson into the mix, I have to ask you about your name. I'm very curious because obviously before this podcast started, I just said it like 20 times, but can you explain the origins of your name?
Yeah. So it's actually a family name. From my mom's side, she's from New Orleans, so it's a French name but with like a Creole twist on it.
Okay, very
Yeah.
interesting. So do you go down for Mardi Gras every year?
I mean, not since I've been playing college lacrosse, but I've been a couple times growing up, which has been fun.
Very cool. Well, Karson was just in New Orleans.
Oh, no way.
I just went there for spring break. Yep.
That's awesome.
Have you ever held a snake?
No, I have not.
Good.
10 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah, I have a huge fear of snakes.
Thank you.
Well, maybe not recommend.
Karson is a little psycho, okay.
That was fun.
Let's see. Karson, I believe you have the first question. But before we get started, I would love to ask about yesterday's game. It didn't go your way, unfortunately, but obviously it's still regular season, so there's still a lot of time to come back. What are your takeaways from yesterday's first defeat of the season?
Yeah, I think obviously losing like stinks and it's a bummer, but there's so many valuable takeaways from it, and just kind of like now like we realize the things that we need to work on, and I think just taking that loss, absorbing what we need to, and going back to practice on Monday and move forward and just focus on the next game.
Awesome. Well, hey, I was checking the stat sheet and you had some ground balls yesterday, which made me proud because there are so many missed ground balls in college lacrosse this year, okay? Not from Eugénie Rovegno, okay? Not up in here.
Thanks.
All right, so my first question is not related to lacrosse at all, but when I was preparing for this interview, I was looking at your just your roster and your bio and everything, and it said that you worked at an oyster farm last summer. And so St. Mary's County is actually we have like the National Oyster Festival every year.
Oh, yeah.
So it just kind of interested me. So I want to hear about that job before we move forward to lacrosse, because I'm so curious to see what that was.
Yeah, definitely. So where I'm from in Duxbury is a huge the oyster industry is huge there, and so I worked for a company called Island Creek Oysters. And they basically have a bunch of different portions of their business. So they have an oyster farm, and they opened up a raw bar like right on the farm. And with that, there was like an oyster hatchery, and they've kind of like developed this whole complex where they kind of grow oysters on site, and then like 20 feet away, they like is the oyster dock, and they kind of just bring in the oysters right there, and then you like serve the oysters fresh. So I worked on the raw bar, but it was so fun, and it was hard work, but it was, at the end of the day, I worked with a great group of people and like got to see the sunset over the water at the end of every day.
We were just talking about how we hate the cold, but the North has.
Don't say we. I don't hate the cold.
No, we and her were talking about it. You were muted.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about you and Courtney Taylor. I was like, don't include me.
We were just talking about it. And we were saying how there's so many benefits also to the North, and I guess getting your oysters fresh out of the water is one of them. That's really cool. Okay, curious.
Also, I had the same question before Karson sent me her questions. I had the same question, so we both wanted to ask you that question. Okay.
The oyster was a pressing issue.
Did you get free oysters?
Not really, but I mean, there always was like some trays that they like they shucked a couple extra oysters, so it was definitely refreshing to be able to have a couple oysters during the shift. And they're really good oysters. They're awesome.
What would you say if I told you I've never had an oyster before?
You should definitely try oysters.
What does it taste like?
They're like salty and cold, but honestly, like it depends on where you're having the oysters from, so they can be like a little bit more briny or sweeter.
Are they slimy?
A little bit. So if you have like textural issues, that might not be your
Yeah.
favorite. But yeah, they're really good.
Okay. Would you say that eating an oyster is better than eating a spoonful of peanut butter?
Yes.
Why
I
did
I
why
think
did you
love.
make those a
it
comparison?
depends.
I'm
I
sorry.
think
What,
it
Carson?
I said, why'd you make those to comparison? Those still feel like they have a lot of parallels.
Yeah, I've been really into eating spoonfuls of peanut butter recently.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm sorry. I
yeah.
just had to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's the more serious stuff. Now that we have the oysters out the way. So you decided to transfer to Washington and Lee in 2021. I'm curious, what led to that decision?
Yeah, that's a great question. There was a lot of different factors that kind of played into my decision to ultimately transfer. And I had my freshman year at Bowdoin, the year that the pandemic happened, and I had a wonderful experience there. Had loved my teammates, made a bunch of incredible friendships, and still keep in touch with those friends from Bowdoin. I'm so grateful for the time that I had there. And then the world shut down with COVID, and like it was for many people, it was really valuable time for me to kind of take a step back and reflect on my college experience and kind of think about what I wanted by the time I graduated. And being home with my brother, who had just returned home from WNL during COVID, hearing his experience, he had such wonderful things to say about it, and kind of academically, socially, and athletically kind of like encapsulated kind of what I wanted in my college experience. And when I thought about the college experience I wanted, WNL really made sense. So it was a huge risk, and I loved Bowdoin, but it was a huge risk. But my experience at WNL has been everything and more than I expected it to be.
Well, hey, I would say it worked out for you, Miss All American. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that risk paid off for sure. So I kind of wanted to go off of that. And you'd mentioned that one of your brothers played at Washington and Lee also. And you're from Massachusetts. So like that's a pretty far distance to have a family affair going on at a school. So you mentioned that he talked really highly of it. But I was also curious, just like what was the pull there, I guess, for him and then for you to follow him and making it kind of like a family affair in Virginia, being from Massachusetts?
Yeah, definitely. I think I looked at during when I was going through the recruiting process for lacrosse in high school. WNL had always been a front runner for me, along with Bowdoin. And I ultimately ended up going to Bowdoin. But I think it's such a huge draw about WNL. It's such a unique place, and you know the overall like campus culture and camaraderie and within the community. Like there's just a strive for excellence among everyone, and everybody works so hard. But cares so much and gives so much back to the WNL community, which I think is really unique. And we also have this really cool honor system, so it kind of lays a neat foundation for just integrity across the whole campus. And I could leave my computer charger in the library and go back 2 weeks later, and it'd be sitting in the same spot. But yeah, it's just an awesome place, and it's been really a special experience to be able to share kind of share that with my brother George.
Well, coming from a college in Philadelphia, I can tell you that if I left my computer charger anywhere for longer than 30 seconds unsupervised, it would be gone. So that's really cool. That's something that's really unique, I think, to a college campus. I think, at least it's
Yeah.
unique compared to Drexel. But, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go off her question, and sticking with your family. So, like you just mentioned, your one brother plays at. Does he still play, or did he graduate?
He graduated last year.
Okay. Hey, congrats to him. Welcome to the real world. Okay, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have another brother who played at Babson. So I'm curious, what's it like coming from a lacrosse family?
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I have another brother that he's in high school and he also plays lacrosse, but I never really thought of us as like a lacrosse family. And my mom, she actually growing up, she had no idea what lacrosse was until she moved to Duxbury, and like is so like blown away. She's like, if I thought that I'd watch a sport that I never knew existed for 25 years. Like, so that's kind of funny. But, I think lacrosse was kind of just something we all were kind of drawn to and obviously exposed to. In Duxbury, the lacrosse community there is pretty prominent and big, but it was never something that, we felt pressure or forced to do, and is kind of just a cool thing that we collectively share and love to do.
Well, hey, props to you and your siblings for getting new fans into the sport of lacrosse, okay? Amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah.
We need more fans, okay? I was the only one in my family or amongst my siblings that played lacrosse, so I have no clue what it's like to share that experience with anyone else. Karson, did your brother play lacrosse?
He was a huge soccer guy, but he played like one indoor league one. He was really small until he got to college, so it just wasn't his thing. He was more of a soccer guy. But when I decided to play, like my dad went out, we Googled all the rules. Like it was an intense transition. Like, okay, she's playing lacrosse. Let's figure out how to do this. So I bet your family, I bet, shares a similar experience there with a lot of families when their kids decide to play lacrosse, because not a lot of people know what it is, or the rules especially. They maybe have heard of it, but the rules are just a whole new monster to tackle.
Also, like playing in the backyard, it like always resulted differently because the guys' game and the girls' game is the women's game is so different. Like they're two. I like to think of them as two completely different sports. So like, yeah.
Question: Did your mom ever complain about having a hard time following the ball? Because my mom always complained about having a hard time following the ball. I'm like, Mom, it's not that hard.
No, she didn't. But I can see how it is hard. I mean, I feel like, especially, it's pretty fast paced and it's a small ball. So.
Yeah. Well, at least in the women's game, it is a unique color versus the white. Yeah. So
that definitely makes it easier.
Struggle with the men's game, I feel like.
Yeah.
The ball is harder to track, I think, in the men's than the women's game.
I agree.
Okay, Mom, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Before Karson goes again, so you're from Massachusetts, and you played for Mass Elite, correct? Your club team?
Yeah.
So Massachusetts is a big area for lacrosse. I'm curious, who's the best player you played with growing up, whether that's middle school, high school, or club?
That's a great question. I think
other than yourself, obviously. We know you're the GOAT. Okay.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think, consistently, from Duxbury, I played with Julia Berry. She plays at Boston College now. But we were always kind of lacrosse buddies, and she was always kicking my butt in practice and working hard, and was always the fastest one on the field. And she really was always like ball hungry and really gritty, and I think that pushed me to be a better player in that sense.
Sounds like she's from Boston.
Yeah, but I think especially playing for Mass Elite, it's such an awesome club, and I would go into those practices. I was up against like some of the toughest competition in the country now, like even at the top Division I level, which now is really cool to think about. In the moment, I was like, wow, this is really tough. Yeah. And I'm kind of getting my butt kicked. But, I think especially I joined Mass Elite while I was in high school. And, I think after joining the club, I became I grew exponentially as a player. And, I think a lot of that is attributed to Mass Elite.
Well, hey, shout out Mass Elite.
Yeah.
You might have said this, but when did you start playing club lacrosse?
I started playing in like 5th grade, but I started I started actually playing lacrosse in like kindergarten or something.
Oh wow.
A lacrosse lifer, okay. Props to you.
But it was never, I'd played soccer competitively for a really long time, and then kind of at the end of middle school I was like, I've had enough soccer, and then kind of really started to focus on lacrosse more.
Hey, no offense to soccer, but lacrosse is the better sport. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I would also agree, but I also think that the soccer lacrosse combo makes really good athletes. I would go to my grave for that.
Oh, that's Karson played
I also
soccer.
played soccer. Yeah. I would go to my grave for that because you just can run forever. Like soccer just teaches you to run forever, and lacrosse, you're automatically better if you can run forever. So it's just I'm telling you, all the ones out there listening right now, go play soccer too. Okay, so transitioning a little bit to your season now and Washington Lee University, like women's lacrosse as a whole. So I was doing a little bit of research, and you guys since 1990 have had only one losing season, like a losing record, which is insane. I just kept going back, and I was like, nope, still winning. So you're starting out this season 8-1. What do you think you can contribute to the sustained success of this program? Like the fact that you guys have had such longevity in your winning seasons.
That's a great question. You know, I think a huge attribute to that is just the leadership that the program's had. Jan Hathorn actually started the program, and she was just inducted into the IWLCA Hall of Fame not too long ago, and is now the athletic director here at WNL. And she's just awesome. And then Brooke O'Brien, she was our former head coach, and she was here for a long time. And now we have Maddie Coleman as our coach, and all of which are just such strong women role models. And, you know, I think another huge part of that is just the overall culture of the program. You know, it's really unique. Everybody works so hard and cares so much for each other. And I think like that, the team culture and the program culture and kind of that aspect of it is a huge component of it. And we have this saying, I am third. And basically what I am third is, it's like it's a team motto, and kind of when you put it in perspective, like you play for the players in the program that came before you, and then you play for your teammates, and then you know, kind of putting that above everything else in the moment when you're playing on the field.
Wow, I really like that. I've never heard of the I am.
That's a great motto. I love a good quote and a good motto, let me tell you.
Yeah. That's a good one. I was gonna say, I feel like putting yourself second, like that's such an easy one. But the playing for the players who came before you is something I bet not that I've never heard before, which also makes a lot of sense why you've been winning since 1990, because there's a lot to play for if you're playing for those people.
Yeah, and it's super cool too. There's so many alumni that have come back to like watch games, and even if we play like up in Gettysburg, you know, a bunch of WNL alumni that are living in New York, they could have been graduated like 5 years out, like to still come back and watch some games, which is cool.
Oh, that is a cool culture. I feel like everyone always like, oh, the culture is great, but yours actually sounds really good. I can believe you. I actually believe you when you say that yours is really good. And then kind of follow up with that, do you think that being a dominant team in the past has helped you guys be a dominant team in the present?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the teams that have come in the years prior to the current year, you know, I think they really set the bar, and we set a really high bar for ourselves in the best way possible. You know, I think a huge part of that is accountability and, you know, showing up to practice. Like we all know we're very capable players, and just showing up ready to work hard. And, you know, it's such a privilege showing up and knowing you're going to play against some of the toughest competition that where you're going to face all season is against your teammates in practice every day is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely makes you better too as you go.
So speaking of tough competition, I want to ask you about one game in particular. So you beat Salisbury in a very low-scoring game this season. I believe you lost them last season?
Yes, we did.
So I'm curious, was that a big win? They won the national championship 2 years ago. They're always a really good team. Was that a big win for this year's team?
Yeah, you know, I think we were definitely excited about it. And, you know, I think we've been trying to keep a focus on being present and thinking about this season. And obviously there was the matchup last year, but, you know, every single year it's a new team every single year. So I think you kind of just have to focus on like one practice at a time, one game at a time. And, you know, we went into that game just focusing on us and what we needed to do, and, you know, followed the game plan. And and we came out with a win on top, which felt really good and was awesome.
Hey, I'm sure the defense felt really good too. I think you only gave up 5 goals that game.
Yeah, it was awesome. Our defensive unit, our team as a whole, but our defensive unit it's an awesome group, a bunch of workhorses.
Amazing. Awesome. So sticking with defense, as a defender, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, you were an All-American a season ago. What are your strengths as a defender?
That's a good question. I think as a defender, one of the biggest challenges you know, is not worrying about the last play and just kind of being present in the moment. And I think throughout high school and, now being at the college level and playing in some of these games that are, really tight margins and can go either way, I think I try and stay in the present moment. And that's something that I think, I've done really well. And I also, another one of my strengths is I think, um, I think I just kind of just work to the last whistle and, work as hard as I possibly can and leave it all out there. At the end of the day, you can't always come out with a win, but, if you fail at 100% and do your best, that's all you can do.
That's amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And also, I would like to say I loved hearing your first part about the mindset, because everyone no matter what the sport is, everyone gets beat. Everyone makes mistakes,
Yeah.
especially on defense in a sport like lacrosse. You're going to be a step behind pretty frequently. It just happens. So that's amazing. I love to hear about the mindset of players. So that's awesome. Loved your answer.
They always say have a memory like a goldfish.
Yeah.
I have never heard that before. Okay.
Really? Oh, it's so everyone says have a memory like a goldfish because they only even remember things like the past 5 seconds or something.
Really?
Yeah, and then their memory resets. So in lacrosse, like a big thing, it's just like memory like a goldfish. So
You've heard of this before, Eugénie?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure Karson wasn't making stuff up now.
But yeah, going back to the mindset thing, I think, it's just so important. Like, goals are going to be scored in the game. You're going to make a mistake. You might cause a turnover, and that stings. But I think just kind of like focusing on putting the mistake in the past and just keep moving forward and doing everything you can to get the ball back and kind of just keep moving forward and focusing on what's at hand.
Awesome. One quick follow-up for me on that. As far as like the physical nature of defense and footwork and positioning and taking angles, what do you think you do really what are your strengths in terms of that? Is it your lacrosse IQ? What do you think, aside from your mental strengths, what do you think makes you a great defender?
I think a huge attribute to the success I've had is our defensive unit as a whole, and I think having Caroline Kranick in goal his kind of anchors that defensive unit. But I think, knowing that I have teammates behind me that are gonna slide and just having that trust in them, I think that makes going to do any defensive task, whether it be a 1v1 or making the slide or going to double, I think that, kind of instills a lot of confidence to be able to take risks and, take risks in order to, get the ball back.
Hey, basically, I don't know if you just heard this, Karson, but what I just heard was we over I, okay? Eugénie is a team player over here.
Yeah, I also have a follow-up to that because I feel like, so for all of our little defenders that are listening right now, all of our youngins, what would be your number one piece of advice to them listening right now as a defender? Because I feel like a lot of kids, when they're defenders, are kind of thrown into that role because the coach thinks they're going to be a good defender. Yeah. So what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just be confident. I think confidence is so important. And, definitely is something that I feel like everybody kind of struggles in confidence in one way or another, but I think being confident and also just like defense is so much fun and you have such an important role on the field. Like, you're stopping the ball from going into the goal. And I think, knowing that the 8 is your house and you're going to do everything you can to protect the 8 and from the ball going in the back of the net is pretty cool. And, I think it's super fun. And one of the best feelings is when you hold a team for a full shot clock and then you get cause a turnover and, you have the ability to change the momentum of a game on the defensive end, especially, which I think isn't always thought about initially in the game of lacrosse.
I love that, actually, and I would 100% agree with you. I do think that, like, scoring goals is awesome, but I do think that defense is where the momentum shifts happen. Like, when you hold somebody and then go score,
Yeah.
that's the momentum shift, but, like, it starts with defense, which I've never thought about. I hope everyone heard that, because that was really good. And going off of that, I kind of want to just ask you how you keep your confidence and composure going into every game, because as a defender, that's so important.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first off, having great coaches that prepare us really well for games and make strong practice plans and, clip film and do all of that. I think that definitely helps. But I think, also having our team work so hard and like I mentioned a little bit earlier, going up in practice, we're going up against some of the toughest competition. And, there's so many people on our team that on a 1v1 will just absolutely burn me. But, I can kind of leave practice with a peace of mind knowing that they're an incredible player and probably one of the best people I'll defend all season. Is pretty cool. And I think, we really earn the right to be confident in the way we practice. And that definitely helps. And, having such a supportive and team that, I can trust and has a shared level of trust across the whole team definitely, gives me a lot of confidence going into the game.
Yeah. Wow, you guys really are a team forward. I've never seen so many individual questions asked to somebody and answered them team focused every single time. You got me on your side. I believe you. I'm in.
One thing I will add, there's no way I believe that you get burned all the time at practice. Come on now. Don't do it. Don't lie to us like that. Okay.
Yeah. It happens, but that's why we practice.
There you go. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Karson, were you about to say something?
No, I just said that was so wholesome. That's why we practice. That's cute. Go ahead.
We talking about practice? Okay, anyways. That was my terrible impersonation of Allen Iverson, by the way. So you're 8-1 at this point in the year, coming off a defeat. What is kind of the team's mindset right now? Obviously, yesterday didn't go your way, but you're still a top 5 team, number 2 in the country. I would think with aspirations of winning a national championship and belief that you can do it. So where's the team at right now after yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously losing stinks and nobody loves to lose, but there's a lot of things that came out of the game yesterday that we can learn from, and I think absorbing that and then leaving the game in the past and keep moving forward. We still have another half of our season and we still have conference playoffs and NCAAs, and I think just learning from that and taking it one day at a time, one game at a time. And then also I think, just shoot, I just lost my train of thought.
It happens to me every episode. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I think we're excited to get back out there at practice on Monday and work really hard. And just kind of focus on the next game.
Awesome. And just FYI, you lost. I think York is number 10 right now. They're
Yes.
ranked pretty high, so it's not like you lost. It's not a bad loss. I mean, you lost to a really good team, so no shame in that.
Yeah. I remembered what I was gonna say. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
What I think's really cool is, based on the games that we've played, we've been in all situations kind of that can happen. That I think will better prepare us for the tournament, but we've seen a loss. We've, battled back from a large deficit. We've been in overtime scenarios. And we've also had like large wins. So I think that's pretty cool. And just kind of knowing those feelings of, like in the last 3 minutes, I think it was like our Gettysburg game, we were down by 4 or 3. And
turning on the Jets.
Yeah. And then kind of making that comeback and, kind of having resilience and working hard and knowing that we can do that and are capable of that. I think just kind of builds on the team that we're like our team growth and is going to put us in a better position for the postseason.
Awesome. And where, I don't know off the top of my head, do you know where the championship is this year?
I believe I'm not totally sure, but I think it's going to be in Roanoke, which is just down the road from us.
Hey,
go.
sure, right. That could be a sign that Washington and Lee is going all the way now.
Yeah. But I think everyone's just really excited, and we just have to keep moving forward.
We said this a lot last episode with Courtney Taylor and the coach speak, but my gosh, you're on another level right now. Okay, you should be a coach today.
So to kind of shift back to Washington Lee in general, that's a pretty impressive academic school as well as athletic. So could you explain the balance that you guys have between academics and athletics there?
Yeah, definitely. I think the student athlete life balance is pretty awesome. And there's like, even though you play lacrosse and are a student at a highly rigorous academic institution, there's still so much time to like involve yourselves in other roles and extracurriculars on campus, which is pretty cool. And I honestly think just the way I operate, I think having lacrosse just and like having like time scheduling, like I think that just personally helps me a lot. And it's such a highlight at the end of the school day, going to practice for a couple hours and running around and just going out there with my best friends and having fun is just like a nice outlet at the end of the day. But I think on our team, academics come first and then lacrosse, which is kind of cool. But everybody does a really graceful job of balancing the two.
So you were a career fellow, right?
Yes.
What is that?
So I work within the Career and Professional Development Office at WNL, along with a bunch of other students who are career fellows. But I basically am a resource to students and can kind of help them build resumes and kind of walk them through that process and kind of talk about the job search process. Which has been pretty cool. And, I really love it just because, thinking about what you want to do post grad as a freshman or sophomore at any point in your college career is pretty daunting and intimidating. So it's just a nice way to kind of approach the Career and Professional Development Office.
Yeah. Which is cool because I feel like when adults do that, students kind of shy away from it. Like when the adult's fixing your resume or the adults doing that. So it's cool that you guys, not that you're not an adult, but it's nice having somebody like a peer do it. Yeah. What do you want to do after college?
You just stole my question, Karson.
I'm getting better at this.
I don't know. We'll see. I'll be in I'm an accounting major, so I'll be in New York this summer, working in finance. So we'll see how that goes and just kind of take it one step at a time.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Will this be New York City?
Yes.
Ooh, nice. Fancy.
Yeah.
Big Apple.
Yeah.
Have you been there before?
Yeah, my dad's from New York, so I grew up going to the city a bunch, but I haven't really been back since COVID happened, so it should be fun.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you know what like part of the city you'll be staying in?
Not yet. I'm still trying to figure that out, but
well, hey, I hope you don't get taken advantage of in terms of the apartment that you're staying in, because I see stories all the time. People pay like $2,000 to live in a little box. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah. That's New York City, I guess.
New York would swallow me whole. I would have no chance there. I would fall apart. But accounting will be fun there. That's a good place to do that.
Let's see. So my final question, it's about lacrosse, but I'm curious, what is your favorite part about playing college lacrosse? Is it getting an assist? Is it the bus rides? Is it the locker room moments? Is it, funny moments in practice? Is it, getting to know the most random facts about your teammates? What is your favorite part about college lacrosse?
That's an awesome question. Honestly, I think the best part is the team. And then I also just I love the team, and our team's so much fun and everybody's so funny. And I think, we do such an excellent job of, working hard and having fun aren't separate entities. And I think we do a really great job of kind of balancing that out and, mixing it in, and do that really well together. In terms of the game, I just love to play, and, I kind of live for the moments where you're fighting for a ground ball, it's 50-50, or then you like win the ground ball. I don't know. That's probably like in terms of like the physical game itself, it's that, or the draw. I think the draw is so fun too.
Love the draw.
Hey,
Special-
when you said about fighting for the ground balls, I just thought she's from Massachusetts, Boston strong type stuff. Okay, very cool.
But I
sorry, go
also
ahead.
I also will say, I think not playing, especially for so long during COVID and kind of missing out on that time, I think, every day in practice is at this point, it's such a privilege to play, especially with the WNL women's lacrosse team, and just kind of going out there every day and being able to play is such a privilege. And I think just not taking that for granted. And, that's really cool because I don't think a ton of people, I mean, I'm sure maybe a lot of people feel that way, but I think it's pretty cool that, I look forward to going to practice every day and just am excited to get out there and kind of be with my team.
Awesome. And I know it is not your job to score goals, but do you want to score at least one goal in your college career?
Honestly, I don't feel that much pressure to do it. I guess it would be kind of cool, but like I feel like the opportunity would have to be right.
Okay. Hey, I did see you had an assist yesterday, correct?
Yes.
You could have just given a little fake pass and
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's like a couple times coming off the draw, like the opportunities there, but I don't know. Whatever you need to do to win the game, and if somebody's open and there's a wide lane to cage, I might take the lane to go, but yeah, it's definitely not. It's not like a goal or anything, but
if they're guarding everyone else around you except for you, then you can take it to goal.
Yeah.
And then my final question: do you know if you'll be taking your 5th year or no?
I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I'm still a junior and have another year left of school, but I mean, I've definitely thought about it, but I haven't ruled it out, or I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do.
Well, hey, if the Big Apple doesn't come calling with 1 million jobs, you can come back for another year. Okay. But they probably will come calling because you're a super impressive person to talk to. Okay. I'm assuming you interview so well. Oh, I would love to sit and watch you interview. My goodness.
No, I don't. I'm not the best interviewer, but
that's all right. Practice makes perfect. Just the same as lacrosse. You got to have interview practice also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any final questions, Karson?
I do not. I feel like we covered your whole life just now. That's your life in a 45-minute span.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We greatly enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for having me on.
For sure. And I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as we did. Obviously, you can see I'm smiling ear to ear. I just love talking to lacrosse players. It's the best ever,
Yeah. It's
I
awesome.
do have a question. How was your first interview experience?
It was great. It was fun. I was pretty nervous, honestly. But you guys are really easy to talk to, and it was fun.
Hey, if you need any practice interviewing before you go to the Big Apple, and Karson can help you out. Okay.
Gotcha. We'll run you through a practice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we will definitely be cheering you on the rest of the way.
Thank you.